new atmosphere and a new direction of government with a fresh ideology. So can you give us in very short statements, can you give us what the government has been doing in the last 2 years?
Thank you very much. When you say my principal has been in the hands of affair for the past 2 years, that will not be totally correct because this government is a participatory governance and we run the government collectively with the citizens. So this is the first time since 16 years ago that Kwarans are enjoying what we call democracy. So Kwarans and Abdurrahman Abrazak have been the end of affair in the last 2 years. So when you talk about what the policy of the government is, the government that is democratically elected is, I want to say it has to do with youth emancipation, women inclusion, and state growth. Those three words summarizes the entire policy and the entire direction of the Malam Abrahman Abradali administration. When we talk about youth emancipation, before we came on board, we understand the terrain we met ourselves, where we had youth being arrested for different kind of offences. In fact, the most recent to our election was the issue of Kofa robbery, where we see how the case ongoing, where we have youth that years back were seen as good prospects for the state, arrested for robbery, and we understand how culpable the news has been reporting of the past administration, but in this administration, when we talk about youth emancipation, we talk about the strategy of catching them young, reorientating them, rechanneling their energy towards a set goal. That's for the youth. That's for the younger ones. For the youth who are for the older youth who are in the age of 18 to 35, we have what we call youth empowerment and capacity building. We have for the 35 and above, we have what we call the wealth creation. When you talk about the cash them young policy of this government, that has to do with the educational sector of this administration. When we came on board, we understand that a majority of our schools have become the homes of rodents, the homes of domestic animals, where when there's rain, when time rain falls, you must go home because the ceilings are leaking, the roofs are not to write home about, the classrooms are not habitable for conducive learning. And Kwara was rated as one of the highest states in terms of number of out of school children. So our cash them in policy addresses the basic education from the primary school. That's how has the government impacted the primary schools? We did what we call what the government produced exercise books for them free of charge. The government started rehabilitating schools. Immediately, the referee, which is ANEC, blew the whistle that Paul Abraham Abrazak has emerged. Our home governor, Malam Abraham Abrazak, did not fold his hands. What are the first thing he did? He first of all went outside the country. He went for African summit, he went for the United Nations summit. What did he go there to do? He went there to tell them that Kwara has a new face. Kwara has a new face where you can come and collaborate. And if you look at the way we have been rehabilitating schools, the way we have been getting equipment for our teachers, the way we've been focusing more on school feeding for our children, for our students that we are going to start soonest. Then the way we are looking at how we have been able to make sure the learning environment becomes more attractive. When you are doing catch them young, most of these younger ones they tend to be fascinated by what they see. And when they see a classroom that is dilapidated and not conducive, they tend to lose interest in schooling. That's catching them young. When you talk about youth empowerment, of recent we did what we call the digital quarter, where we train youth on how best to use the digital world, digital communication world, the social media, on how best to use it to set up their own business, to start to that they now begin to see that social media is beyond just making noises on WhatsApp platforms. It has to do with networking with the right set of people. We talk to them that under the Kwasi digital quarter. We didn't stop there. We also look at the issue of education as well by employing youth who are qualified. In Kwara today, I can tell you that in our schools today we have over 95 first class graduates teaching in our schools today. Why are we having that? Because the government made sure that the recruitment process of our teachers in Kwara for the first time is apolitical. We employed 4,701 teachers. We did not just employ them alone, but we let them go through the normal process of recruitment without them knowing any appointee, without us going to one meeting to share slots. We didn't do that. We make sure we open the portal, we make sure we are unbiased, and we make sure we have influence on the recruitment process. Today we have over 100 2-1. We have over 50 distinction. We didn't collect pass. We collected the best of the best. We collected the best of the best as teachers in Kwara. That's why you begin to see the signs and the fruit of the seed we are planting in the way our children are operating. Now, when we talk about the 35 years ago, we look at that's fear of the youth, and we discover that majority of them want to start a business. They want to do small and medium scale enterprise. So we understand their sphere, and we did cooperation, apolitical as well. In that cooperation, we are able to give loan, our interest loan as much as 3 million naira to this set of people. And I can tell you for a fact that it's not going to be one-off. No, it is just going. It's a starting point to a lot of things that we are going to do. Now, let's now go to the issue of state growth and development. And I'm sure you are aware that 50 years of the state of Kwara, we did not have a single ventilator in Kwara to develop about 10 ventilators. Purchased by Abraham and Lazarus Association. We have over 10 ventilators in Kwara today. And I'm sure you are also aware that most of the structures of our hospitals we are built like hotels. But today in Kwara, we have demolished and rebuilt. We didn't stop that. We didn't stop at that. We understand that when it comes to state growth, we have the formal and informal aspect of growth. The formal aspect of growth is like the policy. The informal aspect of growth is implementation. Now, when we say we want to build hospitals, we want to rehabilitate schools, we are still following the local content development policy. Local content development policy requires you engaging content and the locality of the project execution. That's what we are doing in Kwara. Even with the COVID-19 lockdown, our tenants in Kwara were happy. You know why? We were able to domesticate the production of face masks. That over 500 million of face masks that we share free of charge by the government were produced by local artisans, not tailors in Kwara. Listen, that's another source of employment for them, for those who are in the formal sector. Don't forget that we have 4,701. Now, when you're talking about state growth, education, growth in terms of education is not only limited to just doing school feeding, buying a textbook, building classrooms. No, what about the capacity building of the teachers? Capacity building of the teachers. When we can, what have we done to capacity building of the teachers? We have taken them through the training. What's the English one we call training trainers? We understand that some of our students, they spend more time with our teachers than their biological parents. And so we pay more attention in making sure that both the parental side of life and the academic side of life. This thing has to do with proper training and proper upbringing. Now, when we talk about our teachers, imagine when we came on board, what we met was very discouraging. But in fact, nobody, no, I didn't blame for someone that said that I didn't come to teach now. I didn't blame them. Because how will you be collecting what the Yoruba call very big salary? Where you are not sure that the salary will complete in the following month, then as much as 5%. And when it was them, you even receive fake alert. There was a definitely know that teachers receive fake alert in this state. So those things discourage them. But when we came over, what did we do? We look at there's something to do with the promotion without cash backing. But now our governor, the governor that has foresight, is looking critically at regularizing promotion and cash backing. And if you are aware, on January 1, 2021, over 1,600 civil servants in Kwara were promoted. What that day, when we talk about teachers, the last time the project of teachers was 2017. The governor has approved promotion of teachers for 2020. So when you go to our school and see our teachers smiling, you see our teachers doing teaching with their energy, don't be surprised. It is what we are depositing in there. It's a comment that they are getting from the that's what they are bringing out. Understand? It is what is like a Catholic gathering that we deposit joy in them and they bring forth happiness in us.
Alright, Mr. Sosis. Let me just take one or two of the things you mentioned. Talking about growing up, immediately we married the governor of the state. But I think lately, first it was created when it was said not to have recorded any foreign investment in the line for sometimes one of the states that were in that category. And then we'll talk about education. I think the foreign investors, they probably believe that they have more data than even the government because they know they have to dig in when they're taking their money. And then we talk about the democracy. I think let's let go of the democracy for now. But if all these things are working like in Iran, like you mentioned, what about quality democracy for investment?
Thank you very much. If you are aware, when we came on board, one of the issues we had was that majority of our international partners they left foreign. Even the one that is not even nationalized, even you beg here, federal government, they've left foreign out of 37. The governor is trying to rewrite the history of the state. For more than 10 years, UNICEF left foreign. Talk about WHO, talk about different international communities that help partner with the state in left. When we have the why are you not seeing Kwara as a state? We said before we came on board to 2019 that the conduct of the past administration shows that they do not prioritize the basic needs of citizens. And when we talk about the social infrastructure, stability, there was nothing to write about. In fact, it was because there was nothing to write about one of our own boss, Ebony Yusuf. They tapped him to because anytime he goes on radio, you see all our rules, they have to here. So there was nothing to write about. But look at what we have done in the last 2 years. Instead of fighting in Kwara, WHO is coming back to us to partner with us. Now in Kwara, we are having more of a private partnership. People ready to come and look at what happened recently. 2.5 billion naira from Goa for us to build our cancer center. There's never been this good. Look at, in fact, in Kwara today, I want you to understand that Kwara State is one of the states since 2019 that has not grown the cover. Understand? And when we talk about investment, people are not seeing what you are saying. Before we came on board, you notice that we don't even have aircraft lifting people enough in Kwara, whether up or not. Now in Kwara today, we are having over 4. What does that mean? That means they are seeing investment in the state. And if they say there is no foreign investment in Kwara, in Asa, we have a company there now, the largest in Africa, soya bean processing factory. It's there. In Asa there. It's going to employ a lot of people. And one of these I don't understand that before foreign investment can come, you have to set the tone and everything. After today, the government is executing over 3 projects that are more than 1 billion naira without obtaining loan. And those projects are projects that will encourage foreign investment and partnership. One of them is Ghana factory. The other one is innovation hub. The third one is virtual center. They have over 1 billion naira projects. And as I'm talking to you now, we have not collected a cover. In this Kwara, about more than another generation is the whole of that we are putting multi-billion naira projects in the last 2 years simultaneously without a loan. We have created the growth of the state by only foreign investors. But foreign investors are coming, they are coming. They are coming as if Kwara never existed for 16 years. So when they come, they are going to invest straight up. They are going to have to sit to the government and let us see what we can do for them. As a matter of fact, we are even considering some things for them, which includes tax waiver that when you come, you employ some of our people, you give you tax waiver on this aspect. We are trying to look at ways to which we can let them see that Kwara is a state and not a closed state.
Alright, thank you. We want to talk about international organizations coming in and going out. I think I studied the promises to an extent. Not about talk about the UN or the USL, the another one when we talk about the World Bank. And Kwara State in 2019, I think late 2019, got a grant from the IMF that says that Kwara was, according to the data from 2018 and 2019, one of the most transparency in Nigeria. I think Kwara was top, if I'm not mistaken. So you were saying that all the international organizations don't want to have anything to do with Kwara State. Then how come do we come third on the radar?
Thank you very much. You know, 2019, as at May 2019, we have only spent that many months in that year, 5 months. And you know that the government in 2019 is like a marathon. Those who started in 2019 and government, most who are in when 2019 started, January to March, we don't have run a good race. But the person that took the baton May 29, 2019 finished well. So in January to March, to May 2019, none of them wanted to come to Paris. None of them. But between June 1 to December, UNICEF came to meet the governor, WHO came, they all came. No why? Why they came? The governor showed them in the documents. And this is not experience. He picked so many counterparts. From RAM, from Harry, on health, he paid counterpart funds. So when they started paying counterpart funds, they started looking at it and wow. But they said they don't want money in Kwara. Why is this government within a short period of time paying all this money? And I don't forget that this administration is a prudent one. Very prudent. In fact, in the history of Kwara, it's on record that there's just one that has spread as an administration. There's no. Which administration has the least number of appointments. We don't have SC Gota. We don't have SC Gota. We don't have SC Gota.
If we say this administration has released more appointments, this administration has one of the highest amount of wages in the history of the state. So I think those numbers do not match.
Thank you. You know, when we came on board, I want you to understand something very well. When we came on board, we have what we call overbooted MC service. In fact, the last administration under Governor Abdulkadir Ahmed asked them to recruit 1,000 teachers, and they recruited 2,004 without even knowing. You don't get. Asked them to recruit just 1,000 teachers, and they recruited 2,004, 2,400 or something, without passing through his student. Understand? Those are the things we inherited. Understand? Now, in fact, ESS also helps us by they are arrested one of the union leaders, the NUT chairman, and they discovered that in the 2,000 account, we have over 40 salaries going in there. How will we not have over 40 this? When people that are not working are already in salaries with and the money is going to some people's account. So, but if you look at the projection, with the addition of 4,701 teachers that we have employed now, what we are realizing about this, we now compare the numbers of 6,000 that we have in Kwara. We will see that this administration is doing the most prudent. And when it comes to prudent education, this administration has also been the most prudent. When it comes to being economical with the shortfall of our monetary education, this administration has done well. You know how we have done it? What we have simply done is we make sure that our budget is not the budget of our mother. We make sure we carry our citizen engagement where everybody, we did this central district, Paranatal Center. What did we do there? We ensure that we carry them on what they want. That's not. This is what we want to do. We now ask them to do the scale of preference. So that when we are shortfall, we are not doing something they know that we are it's not about our money empathy. It's parents empathy, but this is democratically elected government, a government that they are happy to be part of.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Solis. Before we go to further, let's talk about previously in economic. Second of all, project executions. We've had a lot of contradictions. Let me just go back to the when we go by the data from analysis in M2 said that, for example, a school like the government high school that carries over 360 million, they believe that a whole lot of the money, they believe to an extent that the project should not have been that amount, and that's one. The other is that they don't believe that the project is already being done with, but maybe in their own belief, work seems to stop there. That's number two. Number three, just we had a crack between NSU and Ministry of Education. The contractors seem to have said that the salary amount of the money was not deposited to you. Maybe the money is in the should be with the Ministry of Education, while the Ministry of Education said there was no money somewhere, but the money were in the PME estimation.
Thank you very much. When the announcement was outside, they said so many things. But when we told them to give social audits, they saw it by themselves. Understand?
But after the social audit, a lot of things came in, and we still continue having this contradiction, especially coming to this high school issue.
What has happened with the social audit is that they collaborated with the government to help the governor do more and do better. How? When they were outside as commentators, that they didn't see what was happening. They were saying so many things. When they are inside as social auditors, supporting the project, the one they sent to the government for a recommendation of not the book, because they said it that this government remains one of the government that they respect so much.
It is only to the opposite to the
And social media
that the social audit issue is commendable, highly commendable, and
the global commendable.
Let me just go by it. Highly commendable. Anybody that's seen and heard about the theories of social audit will commend the issue. But I think lately, NSU seems to have been saying that the government seems not to be in line the way they used to be when the social and everything came in. And that's when we have the crack between NSU and the Ministry of Education. Nobody seems to be saying something. It became the issue of NSU versus Ministry of Education.
Well, I want to just say that one of the things that you should know about government education is that our government is not concerning anybody. Our ministry is not concerning anybody. If any association communicates with the right channel to get clarification, it's not bad. This association is participative governance. That will partner with CSOs, NGOs, the pastors, governments, just name it. That's not. We are not bastards. In fact, we see everybody as partner in the Kwara development project. So maybe what happened is maybe there is a communication gap between the two of them. And you should know our governor very well by now that he has a history of being from a good home. Yorùbá will say ọmọ nílò ló fẹ́ kú tú. There may be communication gap, it's normal. Even if you call me and I don't pick your phone, I assume that I'm fighting you. And when we arrive, it's just that I missed your call. It happens. So these associations have been very careful. We are not about anybody. In fact, the amount of that celebration is a celebration that is a class of its own. We are not competing with anybody, we are not fighting anybody. We understand that we are in this position as appointee of the captain of the as a matter of privilege. Why would we fight those who vote for us?
No, what I'm saying, I mean, NSU did not platform where.
In fact, let me talk about NSU very well, carefully. NSU has done fantastically well with social audit. And they've received commendation from the governor over them. And I also want to tell them that social audit has come to stay in Kwara. Because it has helped us to see certain things clearly too. And anytime they have to do with ministries, they should not see that they are in Taekwondo or they are fighting judo. No. Communication that might exist. But they should try and make sure that they exploit all channels of communication so that people will not assume that there's versus. No. The Abraham administration has never been the administration of versus. It has been the administration of good governance.
NSU was said to have been described as an organization force. As a result of the lot of things that they've done, I think I just just went online as a police and we go in line very, very well. And from what we have seen, the last time NSU was here, they were here to print, to learn the year, to press on here about them working with an association and all those things. No. What I'm saying is, NSU have been at the loggerhead with the silent ministry. From now, we've not been hearing anything since then. And that's after the loggerhead, we started hearing an issue of NSU should not have been coming here and going here. NSU should not be populating in the silent project, should be going to the silent project.
In fact, I'm getting to know that there's another. We don't fight. We don't fight. I feel busy. I know that is a class of its own. If there's a communication gap between us and any ministry, they should try and exploit. Note that word. Exploit all channels of communication. Because what is happening now is people will misconstrue. Imagine some people when they travel out of the country, they want to tell you sick. They want to preempt. So you should understand that social media is good. But it can be also be used as a preemptive tool for those who want it to happen. As of today, I'm not hearing from the person that is over here. And I'm telling you categorically that they know we have ministry of press secretaries like before. When we just have them right, we have them working now. So if there's any gap, communication gap, because the majority of the things that are happening in this world, even when the communication gap is husband and wife, people might even think that they are lost. So and also to use the old channel of communication to get across. And when you were saying they call them opposition party, I checked the identity of political party. I've not seen them also do them.
So let me go. Mr. Sellers, I think, okay, let's leave that there. And still going by Ernest Smith, I think in the last years or even in this week, Nestle came up with the calculation that a single quarry, every single quarry, is going to 25,000 with some amount of money that calculate that. If one goes into any test right now, we will be adding more burden to those people. And going by the 35 billion naira the administration wants to borrow, that means it's one quarry will be only close to 32,000 naira. So now that is the calculation number. And some people are
From
even
them,
just from the State. I mean from DL. That's one example. So now going by the projects, and some people have come with a lot of calculations that going by the project that that supposedly on the charts coming with the loan. Some of the projects are already on, and I think the amount shouldn't be that high, or quite may not even need any loan in the first place.
well, thank you very much for that question. The last time I checked, I don't think there's a place that I checked valuation under CAC and I saw not that better than the natural advisory group. Understand? They are not natural. Before you can talk about the issue of financial issues like this, you need to be an expert, at least you need to chartered accountant, but also have a in-depth knowledge of that. So when people are running commentaries, I don't want us to pay too much attention to commentaries of people that are also running commentaries. Because when you look at it from the angle of, from the expert angle, you know that when we talk about the state getting bond or the state getting loan, you don't divide it by the number of people in the state. This number is that. Or is there another financial time because it's necessary?
No, that's
So when you talk about
that's what we call GDP ratio. It's not like
see, when you talk about the issue of financial dealings like this, I would just want to advise my people in the industry to please help us contract our project, and it should not, you can't be good in all aspects. It's not my human being. So they are not good in that area of financial expenditure, but they are good at monitoring and evaluation of projects. So I will appreciate them for that. But when it comes to the issue of advising the government on saying divided by numbers of people in the state, I think the issue. One of the fake news platforms also divided the number of expenditure that the government spent on organizing by number of by days. See, let me try and, because I am a trained journalist and I'm training one. I didn't just become a blogger, but bloggers can be journalists. No, journalists can be a blogger, but all bloggers can be journalists. So we need to have a very in-depth knowledge of teaching. Like one of my lecturers was saying to Kuala in Nigerian journalism, she will say something, she said, don't know what the government communication, journalism. Majority of the platforms we have in Para, I think I give it justice when it comes to developmental reporting of issues. But majority of them are more of the harness of the political party, the information harness of the political party, where they have derailed completely from the circle of the journalist. And then a good journalist must be guided by the ethics of the profession. And so, those one of the few things I was dividing the range of organizing by numbers of people, I was like, but it's not, even when we see people, we can't be good everywhere. I see that as their own deficiency, that they are not good at calculation. So when it comes to your finances and issue of mathematics, that has to do with calculation, I don't want us to just allow anybody to just put their mouth and run things, It is a very tactical and very, very serious issue that needs expertise. So, like me and you now, just saying that and saying 2 times 2 4. It's not like that when it comes to the issue of financial expenditure. There are so many factors that you have to look at it. You have to look at some variables, you have to look at some fixed variables. So we have to let's allow those also to keep on following our money. Let them keep on, let them keep on focusing more on. But when it comes to financial expenditure, I can And we have ICANN in Quara. Understand? ICANN has been a partner in Google and they have been giving us advice, quality advice. And when you talk about chartered accountants, you can't throw away their intelligence. So, let me even say this. The fact that you graduated as a microbiology student does not mean you are a microbiology lecturer. Understand that? You can graduate as an accountant. Understand? You graduated from Los as an accountant. When you want to go and work in the bank, they have to train you. Understand? So when this issue of financial dealings requires in-depth understanding, and majority of the world we have now, when you have a smartphone, you just press anything and you just find out an opinion. Like I said to you, anytime people travel, they say it's always possible. And you see him online, you say. So let us, when the issue of financial dealings, it requires in-depth knowledge. It's more beyond commentary. It's not a issue of financial mathematics different. We have further mathematics, we have mathematics, and we have financial mathematics. That's why you go to bank and you tell you that answer is not a balance. Understand? If you tell a primary 2 student that account is not balanced, or you tell a person that did further account is not balanced, you have to left or right. Understand? Because you don't understand. So when you are talking about people that are talking about dividing by head, even my friend as an accountant was just laughing. But this is what we have before. I said, no, I had to comment that they are trying their best to let us know that they are available. We are seeing them and we are enjoying the social audit.
Also, that's so. I think we should talk about about the bond. A lot of people are saying a lot of things. Bond is not the only way, or is the only way, or bond or loan is not the only way to get funding for projects. And there are some people have talked about duplications in the bond and budgets, and some ongoing projects are already in bond. For example, we have the Virtual Art Center, if I'm not mistaken, the Film Village, the garment production, and then talking about the fact that this bond carries an issuing cost of close to 1.6 billion naira that we still have to pay. So, an amount of money that will not come to Kwara State, come to the selling. The people that work for that job, to an extent, we know how that works. And normally, when you get that money, there is issuing costs that will go to some people. Now, let me just give you, I don't want to stay too long on this too, because we have another issue to discuss. Now, I want to talk about education carrying 7 billion out of the whole 35 billion bond. But the government, the government has another 14 billion naira from the pay. Even if the education was carrying 7 billion, I think by now, what Juventus will be carrying, 14 billion naira Juventus will carry, should have been subtracted. That's one. And number 2 is works and infrastructure are not well tapped. They just work, markets, and all those places. And we have, for example, so we have come up with the calculation that construction of roads and all that in the budget rate today is 2.8 billion naira. And we have markets, we have all the things, everything that has to do with works, repair of road, rehabilitation of roads carries 5.4 billion naira in the budget today, and the bond still carries 7 billion naira. So shouldn't, if we need 7 billion naira, that shows that within 2 years, Kwara State can muzzle 2 billion naira on its own without going out for loan. And the same thing goes for agriculture, the same thing goes for education and research, and all those things. So what people are saying is that with the look of things, with the financial status of the state, we can muzzle 35 billion naira. If that's what Nigeria, that's what Kwara State needs. So what would be your own assessment of that?
What you have said is just like only commentary based on our WhatsApp financial experts. Some people are just talking about one. No, in fact, today we are so blessed with them. WhatsApp lawyers, WhatsApp doctors, WhatsApp financial experts. They are certified though. They only WhatsApp certified. When they start talking like that, you think that they know. But they say that it's better to keep quiet than to open your mouth to let them know that you are wrong. That's what's happening in Kwara today. Those people that are talking and saying you are this, you are that. We are not in this stage when a government is not investing for 8 years. You see, many people have been instances and cases of bond. They are not their fear. Let me just say their fear. Is that a government that has not collected the bond, that has done the laws. If this bond will land, they are finished. They are talking from the political angle, not from posterity angle. So when politicians are talking, you should expect them to want issues that will not make the current administration because they wish they knew that campaign. Let them know how they give them some assignment. They should go to the front of the newspaper, The Nation, of 2 weeks ago. They should go and calculate the bond and the amount of loans the past administration bought and come and give account of it. Understand? We will give account of the bond we are going to collect. And when it comes to your bond, you may go account at 5 million, you are not going to 5 million. It might give you less. And I'm telling power to that the government of Abraham Razak will account for every kobo, be it donation, be it allocation, be it bond. So when we collect the bond, all these calculations that they are doing, calculations cannot be strict when they get cash at that. They should keep their mathematics and calculators on task. When we get the bond and we start using it for what we project to use it for, they should not forget that our general has said it and we are going to fulfill it. That the both campus of Kwasu in Kwara and Kwara South will be alive under our administration. We will complete them, we will make sure students start resuming there under our administration. And they know. Those who are doing irregular mathematics or financial mathematics, they are playing master financial experts. They know that Governor Abraham Razak is talk and do governor. When he says he wants to do something, he take it to the bank. It is done. And he's a man of few words. Doesn't talk much. He believes more in action. When you see a governor that does not talk much and is achieving more, and is now applying for bond, you are an opposition party, you will get you now. Because a person that has weekly clothes and is dressing neater than a person that has 20 clothes, he's now telling you that he's giving me 5 additional clothes. You don't need to ask it. You dress like Indian. That's it. That's happening in Bahrain. They are very scared. But let me use this word of one of our boys. Say, please calm down. Kwara will be great in your lifetime. One of the things that we have also done is we have also tried to make sure that every Kwara, be it opposition or member of the party, stay alive with our insurance scheme, free surgery. We are trying the high surgery because we know that the opposition need to see clearly a good work of the administration for these 4 years and the next 4 years to come. So we focus more on health insurance because we are praying that even the leader of opposition in this space must be alive to see and say, wow, this is the state I'm proud of. He's not proud of this state. He's not proud of this state. His conduct is not proud. Because how can somebody be holding over 20 billion pension, collected loan for pension, and he's abandoned it? You don't get. So they understand what is happening in Kwara. And in fact, all of them, they say it, that let's not deceive ourselves. Abrazak is doing the best for Kwara. The little success as well. Even the interlock that they are saying government of interlock, when they went to Lebushi, when they went to BGC, when they went to Lekki and they saw that their roads are with interlock, they kept quiet. She said that is not coming now. So one of their bosses, leader of their gang, of the opposition gang, stays in Ikoyi. And when he stays in Ikoyi, the top street to that house is paid for interlock. And people that are living there are rich people. So are you telling me that interlock is not good? So they see when they went there and they saw their principal living very close to environment that are very serene doing interlock, they knew that Abrazak is turning Ilorin to a mega city.
Mr. Solis, I want us to delve into an economic argument here. Let's say I'm a good student of political economic histories. And when we talk about numbers, every idea is useful. When we talk about the Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman, and a whole lot of economic scholars, economy has to do with numbers. And if we to go by DMO, what DMO say, it's a normal thing that DMO would have done. But now, this issue of duplication of projects in the bond and the budgets, that some of the projects are already even going on. For example, the garment making is already on and it's still in the bond. And right now we have also about our works and construction of bridges, roads and parks. It carries close to 5.4 billion. If Kwara State is spending 5.4 billion naira on roads, bridges and parks and markets in 1 year, and then we are getting a bond to spend just 7 billion, and I follow the budget to an extent. Our budget grows significantly. I give it to this government. Our budget grows significantly every year. What I'm saying is that my own, I mean, the opinion of some
Some
economists.
master financial experts.
The opinion of economists is that last year our budget for roads works in the Ministry of Work was 500 million. This year is 2.8 billion, which means that even the growth is almost 500% growth. So if the growth continues like that, before the end of this administration, we might be having 5 billion, we might be spending 5 billion on road, bridges and parks. But now that we are getting a bond of 7 billion naira for road, bridges and parks, something we may later attain very soon. And with the fact that even in 2 years we can multiply that 7 billion naira by ourselves. Why are we stressing ourselves on money that we will be paying 1.6 billion naira issuing cost?
See, when people are talking, I always laugh. The post office to post office bridge that we have in Kwara, post office to post office Kwara is multi-billion naira project. The diamond the underpass that we have here in the here, that has no diamond, is a multi-billion naira project. What economic value does those two projects have for state? We are talking about someone looking at how 16 years of bad governance will be corrected. 16. See, let me tell you, we are talking about DMO. Abraham Abazek has not corrected the kobo as loan. We are servicing their own loan. The government of Abraham Abazek is servicing their own debt. You know get? We are servicing their debts. So they should be ashamed of even calculating the debt of Kwara for Abraham Abazek. He has not corrected a single loan, and he's servicing their debt. Yorùbá kò sí kọ́ bá tẹ̀ dín wà lágbá tí ó wà papọ̀ lẹ́nu. When we are talking about loan and debt in Kwara, even it means that the shameless has no shame. Because it means that shameless has no shame. Because even the opposition should be ashamed of themselves. Tell them to give account of the loan they collected. Okay, DMO is giving us account of the debt that we, and I'm not collecting a single loan. Ask them. All the loan that you accumulated to this amount, or how you spend this, they can't give account. They are assuming that we created project in our budget. What they don't understand is, as we are eyeing the bond of 35 billion naira, the governor is making sure that the little funds that he has now is still making sure. I told you something which they don't understand. That at the end of the day, we might not get to 35 billion naira bond. You might not get up to that. Because what is it they said is that kind of amount not available? Are you going to put our hands? Because your expenses are ready to fall. Should you pour away water in your bath? No. Because we are expecting bonds, should we pour governance? No. I told them something. They are just being they are too pessimistic. That nothing good can come out of Kwara. If they are Kwarans, and the people that are something good can come out of Kwara, what they should do is not be preemptive, but calculative.
This is an economic calculation.
They are not calculating. They are trying to pile up the since we came on board in May 2019, our brothers have been servicing their loan, have been servicing their debt. The debt and the loan they collected that we didn't see any to show for it. Understand? So when they are talking about and the way we are owning money, let them we in power today. This is the only government issue of power that is not afraid of inventing this form approval. It has never happened before in the States. If they have issues, this government is a government that is very prudent. I've said this over time. That every cover, all this their assumption, their WhatsApp analysis, all this is also water. Because even the court of law does not deal with suggestion or opinion. It is facts. The fact still remains that the government has listed what we want to achieve. Understand? That is what we want to achieve with this bond. As we are waiting for the bond, if there are some cash that flows into the state, like that sister that we got, if some cash flows into the state, do you want the government to rebel with? Who will rebel to? He's a man, and not today, the government is on his salary. All this today, Abraham has on his salary. All today, he has not getting a single loan. And he has done a lot. Their fears, I've told you their fears. Their fears is not the bond. That calculation they are doing is not the calculation they are doing is political calculation. But the truth still remains that they know that this man, what Abraham, the captain of the government, they know that when he gets the bond, they that are not proud to be called quarrels, even when they were in government, will be happy that truly they were putting out of government.
Talking about prudency that you talked about, Inetud that being a champion of following Quran with the hashtag follow Quran, Inetud has come out to say that there is certain amount running into 40 million naira that is hiding somewhere. They have approached the contractor. The contractor said the money is supposed to be with the Ministry of Education. Until today, the Ministry of Education has not come out to say that the money is somewhere, the money is where it's supposed to be. But that's one. Number two, NHU has come out to say that they don't believe that what has happened at the site has not been what they were expecting with the calculation they were given, and that they urged the contractor to mobilize back to site. And I think for the last time I spoke to the NSUD coordinator in Kwara, Mr. Larry Shaw, here in the studio, Mr. Larry Shaw.
Okay.
So the deputy coordinator, Mr. Larry Shaw, in this studio, last time we talked, he still talked about the contractor being offsite, and till date, I don't think we've seen something different. So talking about prudency, talking about preemptiveness, this, I think this opposition normally is supposed to be a champion. Now we're not talking about the opposition. We're talking about what has happened. So now, are you telling us that we will not see a repeat of such?
See, what you have said is even new to me, it's like a news to me now. Because let me even tell you something about the Emotu. I think they should try and understand. Dr. Alagosi, who is their director, needs to come back to Nigeria and come to Kwara, because majority of those who are holding the helms of the affair of the Northwood now, at least one of them was recently appointed as PR secretary of a political party. Now that means since the person has been with the Northwood, there's always a political bias. That's what it means. So he needs to come and identify patriotic quarrels who are ready to really follow Kwara money, and not political quarrels who are just trying to join a Northwood to hide their face to be able to fight the government. And I like Bosi all knows that government, the Abraham administration will not fight anybody. We are sincere and we are straightforward. So Dr. Lai Mosi has a lot of work to do, because he's the one, nobody has the vision like the person that created the vision like him. So I think he has to pay like 1 month or two to come to Kwara to come and understand, because some of them are even in the executive of the Northwood. Some of them are now being appointed as as public secretary of a political party, which is really means that ever since the person has been with the non has been politically biased. So you have to be very careful. And so when sometimes report comes like that, we need to look at the political side of the. Because I was secretary of Save Nigeria Group Two, a group like a non as well. So I know the politics that gets into running a civil society like that. So he needs to come back to Nigeria and identify patriotic quarrels and not just political quarrels that just want to be there for political reasons. Because we appreciate the work and also is doing when it comes to social audit, but we also must understand that as sociologists, they taught us that we are all political animals and everybody has a one or two bias that they know. So if people that are having being sincere bias against the government, members of the executive of the Northwood, it will always have a counterproductive effect. So, but Dr. Nagmosi, I know you will be watching us now. You should come to Kwara and come and identify patriotic Kwarans that are not politically naive and that are very sincere about making sure Kwara grow, because we must see ourselves as partners in progress and not just it also must not be seen as a breeding ground for political aspirants. You understand?
All right, thank you very much, sir. Now we talk about governance. Let's go into politics. The party that fielded your principal is actually described as a party in turmoil. Like some people even describe it as a Fuji house of commotion. That and to your own principal, it's described as a home and abroad issue, that we have cracks at home and cracks outside. That's the belief that I don't think anybody needs a background to what is happening right now in the state. But very quickly, what do you think? I mean, do you think we in your party is getting it right currently?
Thank you. APC in Nigeria today is the largest political party in Africa. We have the numbers, we have the records, we keep records. We are a very democratic party. And one of the things I want to understand when it comes to democracy is the beauty of democracy is we must have people that have different views. No, I told you something that for 16 years, Kwara never enjoyed democracy. You enjoyed autocratic system of governance, where one person will just tell you, you must not give birth in the next 4 years. And say, you just say, you that's so I think I've said already that sense. That's what we have been enjoying for 16 years. But now we're having democracy, where everybody can freely express what's in their mind and we can also work together as partners. And when you talk about APC, you know something very carefully about APC is that APC, despite the fact that some people are having differences, they are still in the party. They didn't leave. You know why? Because we really have different views. But deep down, they are proud of this governor. That's why if they are not proud of this governor, they will have left this party. That's why they are proud of the governor, but they just have different views. And the different views, because the governor is looking progressively, but they are looking pocketly. The governor is looking progressively, but they are looking pocketly. They are thinking about their own pockets. That's the two difference. It's two pieces, progressively and pocketly. But when you talk about the governor that is progressive, look at what is happening recently in Kwara, the Africa Center. The governor has not even declared for second term. People are already going up and down, having support for him. And those are the signs they are seeing. Let me tell you something today. Anybody that feels that the governor is not performing in APC, and the governor is not the party of APC, should contest against the governor and see if the masses will not vote for the governor again. One of the things that APC stood for is that the party was built on the idea that the masses driven, not pocket driven. As is the governor not performing, let them come and argue it. Even the blind knows that this governor is performing. Even the deaf can hear that the governor is performing. So the reason why they are saying they cannot leave APC in Kwara, because They deep down they forget what they are saying, politicians can say anything in their mouth on radio or on TV, but secretly they are proud of the governor and they say it. What they are saying now is governor Latiti Kolakunwa. What does that mean? And the governor is doing rules but it's not tying the rule in their stomach.
So now, let's talk about you and I are not lawyers, and some people has come out with legal arguments that we've read injunctions and judgments. Uh, in the case of what happened in Ondo State, and some lawyers from your party interpreting the case such as the first thing to be worried about is that the judgment is 4-3. It could have quickly swung from one side to the other. If somebody takes another decision, then it goes the other way. And the majority judgment was that the president, who is who was accused of being the real, let me say, the death in the mouth of the process that brought Governor Akeredolu into office, which is Alhaji Malabuni, who was supposed not to be, does not have the right to be where he is, was not adjoined to the case. But the minority judgment opined that APC is the principal. Malabuni is merely an agent to the principal, which is the APC. So, which means if by any chance, I've listened to some sounds, and one sound says that maybe, just maybe, they were afraid of the immunity carried by a governor. That's why Alhaji Malabuni was not joined into the case. Now, so now you have a respected lawyer like Mr. Keyamo from your own party saying that that can actually come back to haunt the whole party, that you guys should not forget what happened in Zamfara State and find something to do to the situation of it. So now, sir, do you think we are not having, let me say, we are not killing ourselves slowly?
See, when you talk about opinions, any opinion not having a cause and with a legal judgment still remains the opinion, just a commentary. Understand? And the fact still remains that the Malabuni, the governor of Yobe State, is the chairman, extraordinary convention planning committee. Did you hear me calling the national chairman of APC? No. It's an extraordinary committee. It's a necessity vehicle.
Is there a provision for an extraordinary convention committee in your constitution?
Yes, the NEC has power to come up with committee. It's in the constitution of our party.
The NEC, that is the
Yes.
Executive Committee.
Yeah.
Now, was the committee created by the NEC?
Yes, even this Mr. Keyamo was one of those who gave legal advice for it to be created. So when you talk about politics, as I said, we are all political animals. And when you see people, lawyers arguing towards their bias in politics, don't fall for it.
So, but to go down deep into this issue, the meeting was allegedly called by Mr. Gideon, who claimed to be the national chairman Leiden, but every decision that was broadcasted, like every decision was made by the president, who normally was not part of the NEC. Obviously, the president is not part of the NEC.
Let me try and explain you. The president of Nigeria is a member of the NEC. All elected governors are members of the NEC.
Alright.
So, and when you talk about NEC, the NEC is not an individual. As a matter of fact, the decision of the NEC can be led by even the governor on the seat. It's a collective decision that one person must echo. They deliberated, and the president, who is the leader of the party, like the governors and leaders of the party in the state, read out the resolution of the NEC. Nobody read it out. So that it will go from top to bottom. that the president was one that read the resolution out by himself. He sent the signal. And he sent a signal
How
to
about the government not allowed in the constitution to hold to executive positions?
in Nigerian Governors Forum. We have the chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum, who is the executive governor of states.
Okay,
We
sir.
have the chairman of Progressive Governors Forum, who is the executive governor of states.
Sir,
We have the chairman of PDP Governors Forum, who is the executive governor of
there
states.
have been
Now we have the chairman of National Planning
there has
Committee.
been an argument to the fact that the governors can have as many forum as possible, the southern governors, the border governors. You cannot take them to court as a chairman of any governors forum. You cannot because the governors forum has no place in the constitution. The APC constitution has a place in the Nigerian constitution.
And the constitution of the APC created the committee. According to the constitution.
According to the constitution, I mean the governor,
Committee.
Listen, the committee chairman acted in executive capacity when he started sending names of aspirants of the party to INEC.
According to
That's the case. That was the case Mr. Jegede presented at the Supreme Court. That he acted in when he lost, we have to look at the judgment. The judgment said that Memala Abuni should have been joined. That was the majority judgment. That's why they voted. Sir, I read the document. The majority judgment said that Memala Abuni should have been joined. The minority judgment said that Memala Abuni is just an agent of the principal, and the principal has already been mentioned. The principal is the All Progressive Congress. Memala Abuni acted on behalf of all progressive government in executive capacity, which he should not have done as a governor of the state. At the same time,
have you read about what we call delegated authority?
When we talk about delegated authority, there is a limit to a delegation of authority. If authority will be delegated, there is a certain person that an authority can be delegated to. One thing can limit your rights. You cannot be the governor of your state and still be the senator representing your mean. That's because the constitution does not allow you to do it.
Thank God you are faster than the person of me, Madam Bonilla.
Alright?
Any executive position must be tenured. Is there tenure for committee?
It was tenured, but extended.
It was tenured.
Listen.
Was it tenured according to which law?
No, listen. This is a legal argument.
Even if you are talking about a perspective of Memala Abuni, you say something is tenured. In CAC, when you register a business, you must go there with the constitution. Before you can say you are electing an executive of an institution, you must have a constitution. But Abuni was never elected.
We shouldn't talk about the process of him getting there. We should talk about him acting in executive capacity as against the constitution of the party and the constitution of the country.
Is the chairman of the committee.
Of a committee that is acting in executive capacity.
One thing I want you to understand very well as journalists, and we are not to make opinions. We are going to look at the issue the way it is.
What we should do here is that you are taking a position. It's only normal that I take the other side, so the people will know what is really going on.
What is that? Memala Abuni is the chairman of the committee.
But in order from your party, a sign has said that. You see, we have 1,000 lawyers, we have 1,000 opinions. Then we have even if we have 1,000 judges, we have 1,000 opinions.
Most of them opinions are not facts.
Opinions are not facts, but an opinion won in court on general case. And opinion that's the same. The opinion gave a loophole that next time you are coming with this kind of thing, come with Memala Abuni joined in the case.
Now there's a better way for them to test their opinion in court. We have another election coming up. Let them go to court and enjoy the money I'm going to it. That will ruin the party.
Okay, now let's come to Kwara State. Kwara State's APC has not been rosy.
Very rosy.
Has not been rosy.
Very rosy.
It has not been rosy.
Look
Okay,
at the-
okay, sir. I'm not saying the party. I'm saying okay, if it's rosy, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Who is the chairman of the APC in Kwara State?
Alhaji Abdullahi Salman.
Okay, now I will tell you that Mr. Bolariwa Bashir is the chairman of the party.
You know, in the party we have forums. We have support groups. Can be chairman of support groups, it's normal.
But I would say that there's forums and support groups in your party, and maybe Mr. Samari is just the chairman of the forum.
Anybody that wants to meet, that wants to be the chairman of the party should go and meet the national secretary and tell them to move the name of the
And was the last time I checked on your party website, Bashir Omola Jabunariwa is still rating as the caretaker.
You have been checked in 2017.
No.
If you check in 2017,
I'm talking about the registration and the revalidation.
the website of the party is clear.
Talking about the registration and revalidation you just did.
Yes.
The name on your website as of then was
No?
my Bashir Omola
Don't
Jabunariwa.
about the issue of website. Don't forget that I'm seriously in media. And digital communication is my area of tradition.
Alright.
The website of our party has stopped carrying the name of BOB ever since it was suspended. By the national body. I said the party secretary.
When? Where?
That's the question for them to answer. Because they suspended it. And if they say it's not suspended, they are having a meeting in Abuja presently now.
Do we have a statement to that effect?
Of
An
course.
official statement to that effect.
Of course, they are aware.
Signed by whom?
The
I'm not asking for anybody. I'm not asking you questions. I have interviewed all the people on this topic, and that's the question throw back to me.
That's what I'm asking.
So back home.
Somebody has a letter in his hand signed by the secretary of the party stating that he become the chairman due to suspension of Bashir Omola Jabunariwa.
Mr. Bashir Omola Jabunariwa has a party to that effect.
You know, I am not a media head to Bashir Omola Jabunariwa. So only this guy can tell us if he has a letter or not. But the one I have seen, and I've seen on the website of our party, shows Alhaji Abdullahi Salman. In fact,
I'm sure somebody is trying to help us try and go to your website and understand what's happening.
yes, now. When you can check. APC is one of the most coordinated political party in Nigeria today.
But in Kwara State recently, I think yesterday, the YPP claimed that a faction of the party migrated to their own field of the party.
You see, when people are saying somebody migrated, I want the question, why are they part of us? You cannot call someone who did not validate their membership or who did not register as a party member in APC as a party member.
Some people say they migrated because of the problems in your party.
Where's the rules? Where is the rules? I've not seen one. We did a congress and there was no parallel congress. That's
I'm a media man, and I'm telling you that there is a parallel congress, and the headline from the next day is that some state might be. Some parties. Let me help you with that. I'm a media person, and my work is to let you know, as an media, to know that some people did it, and even your
some people did it.
And even your party threatened to suspend or evict those that participated.
Let me clarify the information. The party suspended people even before the Congress. Understand? Those who the party suspended might go and say they are doing something, but we are not member of our party.
Those.
Yes, no.
Those, like who and who?
Their names are very clear. No, I don't want to mention any names of people that are not in our party again. Suspension and you understand. You don't give a lifeline to a dead bird. Understand? So they have see their letter of suspension. They are very clear that they are suspended. And I want you to also know something very clearly that the secretariat of our party and commissioners body was where everybody purchased their funds.
So we even got the from
And the funds was even signed by Alhaji Abdullahi Salman for everybody.
some other forms were signed by Mr. Bashir
This is
Omolaja.
not another secretary.
Some people saw that. We saw that in the
See,
media.
what is the, I think so, what is the next part?
Yeah,
Is there
if the party is an organized party, that means somebody is impersonating you. Why are we to join the person's
I thought we didn't see it. Let me tell you something. When Jam was still doing, when Jam was still selling manual forms, some people will obtain Jam form and will not submit because they have changed their mind and not to school again. So if somebody comes to the secretariat to buy form and says he's not submitting again, you can afford them to submit. Is their money now? So when they
who released
it's not about reason, they have to buy. When they buy, you see, even if you are from any political party, even from ABGA, you can buy.
no, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. According to your party, nobody has the right to come. Some people will have to come, then buy the form in bulk.
They bought the form, but they didn't submit before.
The form was bought by whom?
I don't know. I don't know. You are giving information that.
Okay, I'm giving you an omission that the people you claim have been suspended and not members of your party
Yes.
got their forms from your national secretary.
And they told me that our party is one of the biggest in Africa. Now even somebody that is not that wants to be
Even somebody that is suspended.
somebody that is suspended will not get for.
But somebody that you
But
claim
if they
to
now come to get before, I told you, our phone is open for anybody. You can come and there's a window that is open.
No, I will not come and collect it.
A window is open that pending the time that they will complete the validation process, but they said it for 2 weeks in Kuala. Pending that time, you can still open for a contest. The window that is open.
Okay.
So
Let's talk about that suspension and one thing. You said Mr. Shomola has been suspended, and that's why Mr. Sumari has to become the chairman. But
because you said that you need to.
thank you very much. But immediately, when we have this, a registration and validation, Mr. Omolaja was registered and revalidated.
Yes, now yes, because he don't know my party.
Because you said he's suspended and no more a member.
When I say somebody is suspended from the party, some people get suspended of 2 weeks, some people get indefinite suspension. I have not seen his letter. My name was suspended. I don't know how many weeks.
Alright, thank you very much.
And there's one thing I also understand. But the fact that you are suspended and there's no clause in it that you must not invalidate, there are 2 things. The suspended people that say can invalidate because the suspended will be lifted anytime. But some people are suspended and you're also a provision that you are suspended and you must not validate as nobody. But the time that will take further disciplinary action. So it might be lucky to have suspension and ask to validate. That's even the magnanimity and the grace carried in May Malab's administration.
Alright, thank you very much. And now let's go to even this party you lead us to the next topic we have to discuss. Lately, what is making round? The headline in Kwara State today is the issue of Okunowo, Shimoni, and Seka that were, let me say, failed in some media issues that led to court issues, leaving them in remands, and they are getting out. And hold on. I think that's not for us to decide, it's for the courts to decide. And well, now a lot of people have said, you said the beauty of democracy, the beauty of free speech, and all that. But these people were held, according to them, against their will. They were invited for clarifications, but the next thing they saw was they were behind the bars and they had to spend some days without their families and all those. So, Nakayuki was a background to this in quick succession because we are running out of time.
When the ceremony was invited, I think we read on the papers that the former governor of Kwara State, Elijah Fodami, was invited by special 2 hours in custody. So when they invite you, the outcome of the findings will determine the further actions of the law enforcement agency. And moreover, I want to correct something about these people that you're talking about. If you go and check their social media handles now, you will discover that majority of what they have posted for years is detected. You say you are not guilty. Why are you not posting your post on social media?
But these people are saying that they
That's
should
what
take.
I'm telling you that.
No, I don't Photoshop. I mean, I don't Photoshop my own
I'm
media.
telling you.
I mean, my social media.
I'm telling you that these people that have been posting something, when they are posting, it's not about criticism. For example, if someone just said that the CEO of just impregnated 7 wives, seven ladies out of wedlock, is that one criticism? Is that not malicious accusation? That's what they are doing. They just look up on and say the hardcore beheaded somebody 7 years ago without proof and they post on social media. Is that criticism, please?
Sir,
So if somebody is telling you that you are legally married, you know what's happening abroad where people they divorce because of even allegations. Now we are not saying if somebody is not alleging that CEO of this place has impregnated 7 ladies out of wedlock, and you're not saying the wife should put arms and not say you have to prove it. For the other to prove it, you have to invite you and say, you said what?
okay, sir.
When I invite you, you're not saying, I always see him going to one church where they always pray for pregnant women. I thought he was one that impregnated all of them. Is that one true?
Sir, let's go to what actually happened. It was the issue of a news shared by these 3 individuals about a certain issue relating to the governor, the governor's sister, and his having parastatal under the Kwara state government, the KWRS. And the news was not written by any of them, it was just shared. And from the calculation and the the friends of these people there that we were not the only 3 guys that shared these news to us. If you go to WhatsApp groups, even if you check Facebook very well, you see, and then the name of the writer and the platform that published the story is there, and nothing is happening to the public.
Thank God they say they are not the only one that shared the story. So they can help the cause with them, list of those who shared with them, and they can further. You see, one thing about like our democracy is that when you know you have people that have committed the same crime like you, democracy allows you to also implicate them. It's a bit of democracy. Just listen.
Okay,
Now, let me now even come to the issue of allegation of AWS. Now, you are talking to a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kairat, a prestigious officer, senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are now alleging that the person received 150 million naira from KWRS. Now, I want to ask you a question. In true sincerity of purpose, he will allege.
They are not saying somebody says.
See, these people that you're talking about, they are proof that they posted this on their own Facebook accounts. They might delete it, yes, but the screenshots are available. Understand? The screenshots are available. In fact, when they were picked up and they were I was asking them what happened. They now send the screenshot to me and said, what? And there's a common semantic that we were ready to prove. So what they are not trying to do is not that they are trying to victimize them. They are trying to help the government and help the EFCC so that they can know if truly misappropriation happening in the see, the arrest is not victimization. They are only trying to help quarrels. You understand? By the time they investigate them and they go to court, you understand? And they are able to find out that it is true that so this case is not fiction of parent or no, they are able see. In fact, they should count themselves lucky as the one of the people that were picked to help the investigation in KWRS. Because this allegation that they have made now, it is a rumor. You understand? So when they pick them like that and they pursue the case to the local conclusion, and we are able to prove that it is true, no, they will be free. So in fact, they should not see the accumulation. They posted it. When they post something that means they are facts. So they should try. These are always the present government. The government is ready that if this allegation they are claiming is true, whoever is culpable should have been allowed to Facebook. So if the allegation of 1 million naira, that is the amount of money. See, that 1 million naira can do some money in this state. So once they can post it And now they are also saying that they have more people that they know that posted something like that. They should not stay in the courts. I said, my lord, Mr. So give me in Makata, Mr. So give me in Kayama, so give me in Offa. For also posted the same story. So when they come to court and they start interviewing them one by one, they will be called to be able to get the truth because that truly is not from, they are not one that wrote this story, but they copied it from someone that truly knows. So they are helping the government. They are not being victimized. At least when you post something on your page, now that means you can say with your chest that I am sure what I post. So it's not about criticism. They are just trying to help the government and help the security apparatus of the state to fish out any discrepancies in whatever. So when people are saying tyranny, it's not true. Let's get it right. When somebody has facts that somebody will never feel millionaire and they are not in court, it should help the government.
Before we talk about this court case, we talk about their remand. They were remanded for days before they could be cleared out. And I think their first appliance, their first application for release was granted that they are being remanded illegally, and this application allegedly came from the Ministry of Justice in Kwara State, and the application for their remand, and they have been charged first, charged second time, remand.
Let me tell you something. See, when they were first of all arrested, I noticed something. I don't know if you noticed that when they did, one of them said he was admitted. Said he was sick. When they now remanded them about Turaka, when they came out, you have not heard about him being sick.
Is Okekura the new one to send people that send something against him?
No! What is about the nothing? I said this is what I was telling the security apparatus in their positions. They are under protective custody.
At the maximum prison.
They are putting Nigeria. They have political centers.
Sir, we have that place is very close to my house. I know what I'm doing. It's not a maximum prison.
No, in Nigeria we have a maximum prison. We have correctional centers.
Let's talk about facts about prison and correctional centers.
Yes.
Nigerians, the correctional center of the thing has not lived up to 2 years.
Yes.
That place before being changed to the correctional center was a prison. Sir, and it has not been renovated, it has not been moved, nothing has been done, only the name has been changed.
That's not following what the government is doing for correctional centers. We at least just talk about it. We donated Aran, we donated some things for them. We donated some.
Are you saying that are we preparing the place for more people to go there?
I'm not saying this government should do it, but I want to stress that it's not increasing. It's a correctional center. In that place, you have vocational training, you have so many things there. And moreover,
is that a place to send people that are not in church yet?
No,
Yes, are not even being
they go with protective custody. In law,
there's a protective custody.
if the accused, if the accused is really the that accused, we endanger the accused life.
What about the accused saying that I want to go home?
And they said
they want to go home because if they didn't want to go home, they would not have applied for
when they leave,
that's because they were not familiar and they were in and out they were out.
somebody deleted what has happened, what has happened.
No, they are happy for what is currently happening. No. They have come online saying, oh, the videos. We are media, we see almost
when people are known to be merchant of different characters, and when people are like that, one thing I try to guide my emotional intelligence and not reading what that comes from them. You know why? Because when somebody is now when they are living and their hobby is about defaming people, saying just going to the manager, impregnated you, and this one, impregnated you, those kind of allegations like that. That's where they feed on. So people like that, you have to be careful when you are doing their post. Because look at when you are seeing somebody was demanded and saying is Christian government, why are they all editing their Facebook and social media handles, deleting posts of years? Why?
It's an allegation against them.
It's not an allegation. Okay, now in confidence, they have also said it that what has happened to them now has given them a burden of different criticism and information of character.
Do you have an evidence to that?
And people that actually were saying it.
Yes, this is an allegation. I mean, this is a rumor. You talked about it now.
I'm saying that they want the judgment and announce it.
Okay,
There are some people that push them up and saying that the fact that what they have gone through as a question starter. They have tolerated and they now see life in a new way. So now they know that person that dreams, this is where the person goes. Person can sense as a door. You are free. Before as a matter of fact, this government already created on social reason. But we will not support the government. And I'm not saying Bishop Justice was not applying something in the flow. When you are as a state, there are some issues that will be prosecuted by the state according to law. And some issues that are private issues. So look at this our Basha. The case is not being handled by the state government. But you see the issue in government, no. So when they are trying to call the attention of us, no, there are some cases that are not concerned the state government. That are still handled by the
I'm not joining the government to this. I'm joining. I said Ministry of Justice.
The Ministry of Justice can take care of sectors. It's no more according to law. So I told you there's no prison in Nigeria. You have to go center. And when you see that center,
there's a regional center where we are supposed to set people and accused of doing something they did not even be judged yet.
You don't know the judge that gives the proclamation of that. No, I'm not the judge. And I didn't study law.
This was not judged in court when they were present. This was an application to a court.
Now, let me tell you. You know, in law, there are procedures, there are processes, you know. Like me now, there's all this you are saying that me, I don't even know the English. But you know, in English, we have registers of law. So I don't know what they call these things in. And I have not been to law school. I didn't study law. So how would I know the procedure? So, but I want to understand something. That if they are right, if they are right and truly infringe upon, the lives of their sellers will have shouted. Even their leader as the Buzela would have shouted. But you will see that they have been very careful after they came out from prison because that place is a correctional center, not a prison. They will correct, they will educate people on how to live a better life as a citizen. Understand? So now when you when custody, sometimes you can put somebody that maybe the life of the person is at risk.
But they have come up to the on social media, on their social media platform to say that they will not be deterred, they will not be.
I'm even telling them now that the government now knows that the post convention center is their back. So and they've been orientated in convention center because that convention center is the facility that orientates people. So they are orientated at convention centers now, not prison. So now that they are going back, the government wants them to engage in more creative, constructive criticism and stop defaming people. See, these people, I'm telling one of them like Oshoniment. There was a time not about 3 months ago, he accused one day of one human being. He was saying because he had to arrest a later. It is still option we have to. So these people are not first time offenders. So sometimes when you commit an offense and you're not the first time offender, the way they treat you might be different. So when you are saying that someone was taken to convention center, maybe it was because of their past accidents and records.
If you has their accidents and records and such, do you know what has the same?
I don't know that police for the issue. I'm not a police officer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Solis. We ran out of time. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I know it's been a lengthy discussion. I know that only time will tell, and it has been a very, very interesting discussion. That I hope if we invite our ASC some other time, he will hear our calls. Thank you very much for your time, listeners at home. I'm the Corey once again. Thanks for listening.